Hargreaves, chance for Torquay! Chris Hargreaves, the captain! If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells!
Hello and welcome to Series 3, Episode 3 of the Gull'S Eye View, brought to you by Galaxy TQ. I'm joined by Dom.
Good evening, guys.
I'm joined by Chris.
Evening, lads. How we doing?
I was very happy, Dom. I'm joined by Tom.
Evening, lads. You all right?
Yes, before we start, we've got a merch.
Hey.
I have got a big head and also have headphones on. It does fit better on you than it will me, but it can go two ways, this way, or as Tom's showing, the other way. So get them in. What do we make of the fixtures? We all play a few games, that's what I see. Do you know what? The thing that stuck out to me, though, I understand now because obviously it's a part-time league, is a difference. But the big thing to me when I first saw it was Torquay v Yeovil on a Tuesday. That's the bit I was like, nah, that's just not great business anyway.
That's disappointing, that, isn't it?
It'll be a great night, but yeah, no, that's a bit stuck out to me. But Dover away is our first game. Tom, you were saying that apparently they've got financial issues again, or they never recovered from their original one.
Yeah, so, well, they announced the signing, didn't they, the other night? And then it turns out the guy was going to go somewhere else. I recall he was a Hampton player last season and then left. Quite a good player. He absolutely tore Tunbridge apart and then did nothing from what I recall since. So, but yeah, it sounds like it's a bit of they're struggling a bit. I mean, they only just avoided relegation by the skin of their teeth on goal difference last season. I know it's a new season and you shouldn't really take those things into account, but I think I would have been much happier with a home tie to start us off than an away one. But if we've got any real ambitions of getting out of this league, first time of asking, you got to go there and feel like you can win it and win it quite well. It'll be a difficult game.
They put a bit of money in, didn't they, a few years back and tried to push them up the divisions. I think he's probably cut the purse strings these days, hasn't he? So
but that already sounds like, at least reading on the forums, there's a little bit dissent within the ranks already, which is not ideal in pre-season, and they're struggling to get players to sign up.
Still there. Hessen, I can't pronounce his name.
I think they're under a new manager now. I don't know if he's in behind the scenes or whatever, but it sounds like they're struggling at the moment. And yeah, I mean, at least it's getting the longest journey of the season over and done with, I suppose, in a way. That's probably good for us.
Oh well, I would be sympathetic, but I'm still not over the Drillberry day at Dover, so still.
But like I said, I think you've got to go in there thinking you're going to win it, because ultimately the aim for us is to get promoted, whether it's playoffs or as champions. You got to be, you got to start well, something we've not done in the last 2 or 3 years. So it'll be a difficult test, but one that on paper we should start with a win. But I take nothing for granted at the moment. We've still got the vast majority of pre-season to go before we can even contemplate how we're going to do on the first game. But yeah, I think ideally for me, a home tie would have been better, but at least we're kind of ending at home as well. We've
got continuity in the side, haven't we? So we should be confident in a quick start.
I'm confident.
No excuses like previous years when we got 10, 12 different players coming in. These guys have played with each other, so we should go to Dover and beat them, shouldn't we?
For me and Chris, I wish we were playing at home because
I found it all hugely underwhelming, actually. Yeah, because we get to have a million miles for the first game, and then I'm on holiday and miss the first 2 home games. So that was a really great start to the fixtures for me. I loved it. But,
welcome to 2023-24, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this. I mean, I read an article earlier in the week about the local journeys being midweek, and unfortunately, it's a sign of where we are, isn't it? It does make sense, because if people are going to work, you can't really have Dover away on a Tuesday night in an ideal world, can you? So it makes sense to get these games. I think it will hurt the attendances for these games like Taunton and Yeovil and things like that. But Yeovil always bring an underwhelming amount of fans, don't they, to Torquay, because
passengers. I take the train person.
They could. They bring about 700 last year. It's always an underwhelming amount, isn't it? But I was thinking about this yesterday. These clubs have just got to organise this properly. If you look at Western last time, Bingate and all of that all came about just because of a lack of awareness, organisation in terms of the numbers. So hopefully they'll be able to be alert to the numbers to expect, and it'll be run properly this time.
That was pretty shambolic, that Western game. I remember speaking to the stewards when I got there really early. Oh, how many are you expecting? Oh, about 300-400. I was like, I don't think you've quite anticipated the numbers we're bringing up tonight. And
yeah, it's a shame that's a Tuesday, isn't it? And the Taunton one, we're all looking forward to that a little bit, aren't we? And new ground, new day out, and
but I
Tuesday
mean,
nights,
you would expect us anyway, especially for the away ones on a Tuesday night, that we'll still take a pretty healthy number with us, especially
we'll
to the
take
likes
those,
of
won't we? But
Taunton.
it's not a proper day out, is it? It's not like a
No.
Saturday you can go out and enjoy.
I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, again, it's where we are, part-time league, for the most part, and it makes sense to keep the local ones local, I suppose. However, it's definitely going to be a disappointment to some, but ultimately, as long as we're going there and we're in good form and again winning football matches, it'll be fine regardless. At least it's some short journeys for us this season. At least it's not like we're having to go to Braintree on a Tuesday night, although we'll wait and see what the weather holds over the winter for that, I suppose. But
there's the most
particularly exciting, is there?
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris?
There's a positive spin. At least we've got some short journeys this year. That's the most positive I've heard anyone be so far.
I don't think there's much exciting about the list, to be honest. But the last few games look good, don't they? If we're contending, Yeovil away, is it Bath away? That could be really good crunch games at that point. It's hard to look at the rest and get too excited.
I forgot it was
Plymouth Parkway. I mean, the new year.
I forgot it was Good Friday's early next year. It's an early Easter,
March,
so
isn't it? End of March, isn't it?
We'll absolutely pack the away end if there's something to play for between us and Yeovil, if that is the case this season. So at least from our side, we'll be backed by a healthy number.
Whilst you're on that topic of Yeovil, we had it a bit later on in the plan, but might as well speak about them a bit, obviously, because they've signed a striker in the week, which some Torquay fans are bothered about more than others. What do you make of Yeovil then? Because when we last spoke, it was a bit like, we don't know what's really going on at Yeovil. And then now they're making a lot of noise. They've signed a lot of players who, great on paper, but if you're signing 5 strikers, for me, obviously I'll chuck in money at it, fair enough. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee success. It brings pressure more than anything. I mean, obviously Frank Nouvel, we will have our opinions on it. Mine is he was a great player at the time we needed him. I really liked him. He was a great presence. Will he stay fit for a full season? That would be my fear if he's signed for us. I don't know. And same with all of their strikers. It's about, they'll all be desperate to play. I guarantee pretty much Murphy, all of them will want to be the main striker next season. So it'd be interesting, really. I mean, a lot of Torquay fans, when every fan base has got their weird bunch, I don't really understand the hate as much, really. Especially when the same fans probably begging for him last week. But you've got to be realistic. Of course, we're attached Frank Nouvel. It wasn't the move I was expecting at all. Don't know what any of you thought, but I thought you'd go for a National League move. But
we talked about Frank before, Chris, didn't we? I think we were pretty much agreement, weren't we, that he's a good guy to have around, but we didn't want to pay top draw for a guy who's going to miss games.
And we'll be on the 2-man pace next season, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd agree. Well. I'd agree with that still, Dom. I'm pretty relaxed about it, to be honest. I mean, A, he was never going to sign for us. B, I don't think for the money you'd spend, you'd get the outlay. And to be honest, if you look at where we are and what we need, I think the signing of Bradley Ash is a far more positive.
We need faster players.
Far more. If you think, those 3 forwards, Jarvis, Ash, and Collins should be, they're youngish, they're mobile. Hopefully they'll stay fit. And no, I'm pretty relaxed about it. I think what's interesting is. The story obviously seemed quite clear that Johnson offered him a contract at the end of the season, and again, it appears he said he didn't want to commit to it because he didn't think his body would cope with 8 plastic pitches very much. But yeah, he's ended up at Yeovil at our level, so it would suggest to me that he's probably not got any other option in terms of whether he thought he'd get a Dagenham or a Wealdstone or something like that. I think so. Yeah. So in fact, he ended up at Yeovil, both geographically, physically, and maybe even financially. Probably tells you that that maybe hasn't worked out as he thought. I'm not a huge fan of this whole social media presence of this new owner at Yeovil. I mean, it's the exact opposite to what we have, and I'm not, there's a happy medium to be found.
It's going to be a circus. It's going to be a circus.
Yeah,
he's the other way. As soon as that goes wrong, it'll end terribly.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? We had this with Nico years ago, and he talked to fans a lot and stuff like that, which is fine when things are going right, but when it goes wrong,
Nico talked to fans.
Right in the middle of it.
He wasn't there slagging off people and other those
But
people
you
have
just
always
find
got,
yourself right in the middle of it, Sam, don't you? That's the trouble when things are
yeah,
going wrong. So
and
you're
like,
an easy
yeah,
target. Aren't
but no, it's just more that he's just abusive to other things. It's just like
you?
he snaps at it. Nicholson was always pretty professional as you can be with that. Obviously, some would
Oh
argue,
yeah,
but
in a different way.
it
I
wasn't
think, yeah.
professional to be doing that in the first place. But you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like.
I think as well, what it does is it's fine now when it's new and they're painting the stadium and they're talking about a roof for the away end, and we said we'd commit to players and it's about money, not building houses and all the rest of it that there's been on social media. It's all fine now, but when you just got beaten 2-0 at St Albans on a Tuesday night in October, and the fans are coming for you on, and I guess it's the risk you take, isn't it, in that situation? In that,
He's confident they'll win the games,
yeah,
isn't he? He's
absolutely,
confident
yeah,
they'll do well,
yeah. But you
which
then got
is
to take
fair
it if it
enough.
goes a bit wrong, haven't you? Which will be the
It's
challenge.
fair enough, but it's just the unprofessionalism of making silly comments and stuff like that.
Well,
It doesn't sit well. I
trying
wouldn't
to
have thought.
threaten to beat up people on Twitter.
Yeah,
How old is he?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Yeovil. I mean, I've got quite a few. I've got a few friends who are Yeovil fans, and there seems to be two even from talking to them. There seems to be two very clear camps. Some people think it's great, and he's a local man, he's a Yeovil fan, and it's all about the community and the club, and it's great. And compared to this other bloke, it might have been it's brilliant. And there's other people who think that he's an absolute. He's away with the fairies. He ain't got a clue. He likes it's all very romantic, but the reality of running a professional football club that is, let's be honest, has the same as us, has the eyes on only on one prize this year is going to be too much, and he needs to tone it down. So it will be interesting to see when the football starts and the games, are ticking by, kind of how they go and kind of what the reaction.
What he has done is get people encouraged to go and buy tickets, and they sound like their season ticket take up was very good. Probably a fair bit more than us, and that's maybe gained by his publicity and making the push of the local public, which our owners don't do we? We're the other extreme to that. We never hear from them. There's no communications or engagement at all. So as I said the other day on the chat, it's one extreme to a ridiculous other, isn't it? You just want a happy medium, Chris, where you hear occasionally, but you don't want them having fights online and that sort of thing. So,
and I think in the modern world there's a happy medium for players as well as for owners. I think again, it sounds bitter now, but I think Newblay's probably a bit too many posts and too much about this and that. But equally, from a fan's perspective, at our level, the beauty of supporting a club like we do is that the players are accessible on Twitter. The major, the big players. But players respond to your messages and they like your messages, and that's good about the low league clubs. But it can be a bit much as well.
It's
just on the fixtures.
It's all right when things are going well, isn't it? But you can tell somebody like Asa Hall doesn't want to be on there posting stuff, because if things go wrong, he has to face the other end of it, and he's not the sort of guy who wants to do things when it's going well and then disappear when it's going bad. He just leaves.
The ones who are consistent are the ones that
And if we're looking at like injuries as well, I believe their forwards, especially that they've signed, and they're injured quite a lot.
It's whether they can juggle around and find a good
I agree. The league will probably come down to their strikers.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I would have liked to have had Newblay if the offer was there. But I guess he was just after too much, and Yeovil, they proved that they're one of the big spenders this season, which is fine. But it's the National League South is a different world to League Two in the National League. I think they've got Hemel away to begin with, so I mean it's not the easiest place to go and get, especially it's a 4G pitch as well. And they'll be like us in a lot of ways this season. We're a big team there to be shot down, and it's whether we can cope with that change, of being the big club this season.
Knox County type of title race? Will both teams flop and like a Bath will come in, or someone,
Is it going to be that predictable? I just don't know. It's difficult to tell. We'll know after 10 games a bit more, won't we?
I don't just think it'll be those two clubs. I really don't. I mean, I've got a mate who's a Bath City fan. I mean, he's pretty pessimistic about their chances this year. But I mean, he said he listed kind of 8 or 10 clubs, a combination of us and Yeovil who've come down, as well as clubs who've been in and around with investment and kind of settled.
First 10 or 15 games, it will take a while to settle down for me.
I tell you what, having Worthing at home first game or first home game of the season, that's going to be very tough.
That's a good
I personally think Worthing will be one of those pushing for minimum, top end of the playoffs this season, if not looking at being one of the surprise outfits for automatic promotion. They're a club that's been on the up for years, and there'll be no pushovers this season, and I think they'll set a very good benchmark for us to see whether we've got what it takes to be considered one of the top dogs in this division. because they'll bring a fair few fans down with them. Their
lie.
first trip to Playmore. They'll bring a couple of hundred down. So at least from that perspective, at least we'll have some noise when we go to Playmore to bounce off of. But yeah, I'm not discounting anything this season. There's not going to be a single game.
About our team is their proper.
We'll be made to look like fools, and Yeovil as well.
What I like about our squad is we got a lot of proper pros there who've done it, played plenty of games, haven't we? So we are ready to play, aren't we? There's not going to be a lot of tiptoeing around. We're ready to get stuck in, aren't we? So add a few more players now, and we're ready to go. So I think we're in a good position to start. Yeah, maybe Hugo will just take a bit of time to calm down. If Mark Cooper will take a bit of time to find a settled line-up, juggle the team around. So I think we can take advantage of that early doors.
I always think whether you're one away, two home, or two home and one away, or one home, two away, you really want 7. If you're kind of aiming for, if your aspiration is top end, which is what ours is in this league, is you want 7 points from those first 3 games. If we can go and get a point at Dover, worst case scenario, let's just say, and then you win your 2 home games, because it's the home form. I think what will be key, as we've already said, is we need a good start, because we can't. The start we had last time was a shambles, and that run we then went on was incredible when you look at the pure statistics of it, the amount of goals, the amount of points, the amount of successive wins. But you don't want to be in a position where you've got to do that. Really, you want to start and be.
You don't want to be 16th after 10 games.
Yeah, our line was kind of like that, and then like that, wasn't it? Whereas you want it to be as level as you can.
You also want to win the home games probably a little bit more than the away ones, because then supporters get more excited and you get more revenue from people coming in. And if you're going to draw an away one and win the home one, that's not so bad, is it? So get the home form going early. Put a marker down, score a few goals. Show supporters you're in for a fun season, because you've got to win people anyway.
In a dream world, you want to go to Dover and stuff them 4-5-0 to really set a benchmark to everyone else.
What 1-0's fine, Tom. It's still 3 points. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we'll take that.
But no, absolutely, and I think, and as we said, all of the eyes will be on Torquay and Yeovil. So the stronger the start, the better.
No, I agree, and all the pressure will be on both clubs. So
I think that's the issue for me. If I go to games and I'm seeing them beat Tunbridge, you don't want it to be 1-0, do you? You want to be able to beat these guys 2 or 3.
I know what you mean, but like the wins.
You want to beat them well, don't you? And enjoy your afternoon.
It's going to be a fun season. That's what I'm going to say.
I hope so, mate.
I'm with you, Dom, but I want to win some games of football. It's about we do,
but I don't think you want to get back to work Monday and say, "Oh, I won on Saturday," or "Who did you play?" "Oh, we beat Slough 1-0.
I don't care, mate. As long as we're winning, and I
want to win the league.
You got to score a few goals.
As long as I'm looking at the table and we're at the top of it, then that's all I care about.
I think that was what was so good last time, wasn't it? It was entertaining. It was pace. It was goals, wasn't it?
Winning is entertaining, because if you win, you're like, hey, you're getting.
I remember that Gary Hours season. We scraped past Bath City the 3rd game.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We should have got beaten that game.
That was tough.
And we beat East Thurrock 1-0 or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
There was no entertainment there.
We knew we were terrible. Yeah, but
that was no fun.
Yeah, it's no fun
if we're only beating East Thurrock 1-0.
But no, it's no fun because we were losing 1-0 in the next game and drawing 0-0.
If we're good and we play properly, we will win 3 or 4, won't we? So
on the odd game, yes. On the odd game, but if you're going to the next, if you're winning like 3 or 4 games 1-0, that's fine. But on the Arrows, we're scraping 1-0, then losing 1-0, like Gloucester, and we're like losing 2-0 to Hampton or whatever, and Hemel. So
Dom wants to be entertained. If everyone's from Torquay's watching,
but if you want to get supporters in, Chris, as well, because supporters need to be enticed, don't they? We want good attendances here. They ain't going to go, oh, they only beat Tunbridge 1-0 last week. Wow, I better get to play more next week. I don't want to miss out on that, do I? You've got to get these like people who don't come to games very often. We're all go whatever, but
or in the wrong division for that, I'm afraid.
We're in the National League South, and they go, "Oh dear me."
Yeah, I think that's the biggest problem.
You need to entice them, mate.
So thank you for watching this first part. It's like we never left. Buy the merch. Entertain Dom by buying the merch. And we'll see you in the next part.
Here's Hargreaves, chance for Torquay. Chris Hargreaves, the captain. If he stays onside, Carlisle checks instead. He's looking for Benyon. Sells.